Well, hi everyone. We're back talking to Deb McKinnie, General Manager of Residential Property Management at Harcourts Cooper & Co. Welcome back, Debs.
Nice to see you, Karen, albeit it's still a little bit wet today.
I know, rain, go away. In this video, we thought we should share how the top 5 reasons why investors should engage with a professional property manager and not try to manage the tenants and property themselves. Debs also has some great photos to show you, so this is actually going to be really good. So let's start with the first point. Keeping landlords up to date on legislation changes.
This is actually the most important reason for having a property manager. When I meet with clients to talk to them about professional property management, I quite often find myself repeating that what they're actually paying for isn't for us to receive the rent, do inspection or arrange maintenance. They are paying for knowledge. The RTA, or the Residential Tenancies Act, has been through more changes in the last 5 years than it has in the last 50. There are $150,000 worth of potential fines for landlords for breaching the relevant acts that govern our sector, and that actually includes criminal convictions now. So the most critical component of what we do is often what happens behind the scenes, interpreting the legislation, knowing how to apply it, and then utilise it to the benefit of an investor is absolutely crucial. If you're not a lawyer, you don't usually go in and fight your own legal battles, and the same applies to property management.
Yeah, good point. So the second point, deal with any maintenance issues like leaks, things like that.
So maintenance work being carried out at a property actually has quite a few implications. So not only is it a requirement under the RTA to keep the property well maintained, it can also prevent further damage being caused if it's left unattended. A really good example of this is blocked gutters. So if they get full and they're left, the water will eventually seep through the suffits and can cause further damage to the ceilings and walls. So it also ensures your property can achieve the best possible rent and deliver you the best possible returns.
Yeah, I guess with the recent flooding as well, I mean, that's even more important, right?
Absolutely. Nobody was prepared for that event. And so landlords who hadn't probably maintained their property, in particular the gutters and drains, as well as they should have, were the ones who suffered the most.
Yeah, exactly. Third point, ensuring the rent is paid on time, one of the obvious ones.
Yeah, and look, I know that most property management companies do say that they have a zero tolerance policy for rent arrears, and we all do say that, but it's actually important to ask what their processes are for enforcing it. So rent money should be received into an audited trust account. It's allocated and then reconciled daily. And in the event that tenants do get behind, steps should commence as soon as possible to help them get back on track. So open lines of communication are the best way to approach this, as there could be many reasons for the payment being late. Within 2 or 3 days of a missed payment, the tenant should be called or sent a message with a friendly reminder of their overdue payment. Then, if nothing has been received by about 5 days, put in a follow-up call and email advising them of the process if they're not able to get back on track. And then within about a week of getting behind, a formal breach notice should be made together with a tribunal application to help them get back on track. So many private landlords often don't realise for a few days or even longer that payments may have been missed, they don't follow the required process, and by the time the tribunal application is made, the debt may have become much larger and then harder for them to repay.
Yeah, exactly. So the fourth point, can claim the cost of the property manager.
Yeah, so it's widely reported that there have been a number of changes to tax laws in recent years, which have restricted what investors can claim back on their investment property. However, there are expenses that can be offset against the rental income. So these include insurances, rates, accounting fees, repairs and maintenance, even mortgage broking costs, valuation, legal fees, and then some eviction-related costs. And of course, property management fees charged by an agency. So to give you a rough idea, the standard property management fee in Auckland is 8.5%, and the average rent in New Zealand is $595 a week. That's about $50 a week if you've appointed a well-selected agent, which gives you peace of mind for your most valuable asset.
Yeah, okay. The last point, finding the right tenant.
Yeah, look, I know that might be tempting to save money on management fees to reduce the weekly costs, but what you're seeing here is an example of how this can go horribly wrong. So this is a property that was being managed by the owner. The tenant selection wasn't done properly. She didn't do regular inspections, and the tenants weren't contacted about getting behind with their rent for a number of months, which is actually the first time that she noticed. So sadly for this client, the clean-up bill for the property, eviction costs, and the loss of rent has now tipped over the $50,000 mark. Now, this equates to 1,000 weeks or 20 years of management fees, and doesn't include a figure for the stress and emotional toll it has taken on this investor. So with the changes to the RCA back in February 21 and the Privacy Act in July last year, tenant selection has never been more crucial. Most private landlords take applicants at face value. They rely on the brief meeting with them while showing them through the property. Only a small percentage will obtain references from prior landlords, and even less will complete the credit checks. So for professional property managers who may have partnered with industry experts to supply tenant screening services, we can access 27 different databases when screening tenants, ensuring we have covered all possible bases before recommending them. So as it is now much more difficult to end a tenancy following the removal of the 90-day no-cause evictions, putting the right people in will significantly reduce complications at the end.
Yeah, exactly. And you made a point to me earlier about that one that you're showing photos for, that the rent there was $600 a week, and the tenants just took it upon themselves to start paying $400 a week, and it was months later that the landlord realised that, which, again, like you said earlier, is hard to claw back.
Yeah, and there's also the onus for tenancy tribunal is that landlords are actually expected to maintain accurate rent records. And so even though this will go through the tribunal process to start recovery, the fact that the owner allowed the rent to be reduced for such a long period of time effectively means that that was the amount that it has been reduced to. So keeping on top of your accounting practices, your inspections, your maintenance, water rates, all of those things will greatly reduce the likelihood of losing that money should it end up in tribunal.
Right. Okay. Well, once again, Debs, that was great information. So thank you very much for that, and look forward to talking to you again next quarter.
Yes, let's hope the weather's a little bit better by then. Look forward to seeing you soon.